here today in Laguna Beach at Laguna Nursery. And I understand this is a one-of-a-kind place that is not to be missed. So let's go on in. I'm sitting here at Laguna Nursery with Ruben Flores, who is an award-winning landscape designer and the owner of Laguna Nursery. So Ruben, tell me, when did this passion for plants begin?
It began when I was very young. At 3 years old, I had my first very own vegetable garden, and I grew it from seeds. And to see them come up and give life and fruit was so exciting to me. And thereafter, I just kind of grew into the architecture and the pieces, and here we are.
So you went on to get degrees in landscape design?
I got my degree in ornamental horticulture, Bachelor of Science, and then I went on and got a master's degree so that I could apply it somewhere.
Of course.
The application of it.
Okay, it's all coming together now. The ornamental horticulture, business degree, marketing, with what I see going on here.
Yes.
It is just a feast for the eyes, and I am so intrigued with your displays. This is unlike any nursery I've ever been to before. Tell us your secret. You combine architecture and ceramics and
all of it. I was fortunate enough that the very first job I got out of college was a $20 million estate on the ocean.
Wow.
And of course, they demand a higher level of art in the garden. And my second biggest job was here in Laguna Beach at a different villa. And he requested that I go around the world and take a look and find some pieces to bring back. And thus started my thirst for pieces from every country I could visit. So above you is a piece from Cambodia, a bas relief. There's a piece from Ireland that is a finial. The mantle itself is stone from Italy. So, and then a beautiful ceramic piece from some friends here in Laguna Beach.
The thing I find most interesting too is how you've created these little kind of vignettes.
Yes.
And there's always a place to sit, to look around, and to just enjoy every second of it.
Yeah, that's exactly. You framed it perfectly because I believe in every garden there should be the restful spot.
Yes.
I believe in every garden you should be experiencing all 5 of your senses. So there should be a gravel walk for the sound, or a wind chime. There should be water. Obviously there should be the visuals. But you also want to go around and be able to, it's tactile. Every garden should be tactile.
Right.
And then you get the scent of a scented geranium, and it makes your day.
The wonderful fragrance.
Yes.
Oh, it really is wonderful. My favorite piece out here is the bed frame.
Yes. It's a vintage bed frame.
The vintage bed
right.
frame.
And because it's a bed, we put vegetables in there and we made our own vegetable bed.
Oh, I love it.
And it's those things. I want to make sure that people smile. I think it's probably easier to catch somebody in awe, but then to take them to the other side and to make them smile, it kind of just makes you ooze.
And you do it perfectly.
Thank you.
Absolutely perfectly.
Thank you.
Not only is this your beautiful, unique spot, but you do garden tours.
Yes.
Twice a month.
Twice a month.
Open to the public. Tell me a little bit more about your tours.
Well, I realized that myself as well, when you go through Laguna, as you can hear in the background, you usually go by car. And going by car, you miss 95% of the beauty and the nuance. And so I love to go on walking tours. So we'll meet at the nursery first. We'll have an adult beverage. We'll take a look around and see what's blooming. We talk about a little bit of politics, a little bit of movie, and definitely we talk about plants. What's in bloom right now. And then hopefully I'll take people to a street or an avenue that they've never been to before. And of course, on every street I have friends. They allow us in and we go and discover their backyards, their side yards, sometimes even their inside of their living rooms, because it's important that from the inside of the house I do my landscapes. So we all wake up in the morning and you look out to see if you even want to go outside, and if you put that smiling or that awe effect just outside the window, their cup of coffee in their hand and they're outside in their pajamas looking at the landscape.
Well, Oh, the tours are great fun. I was on your tour last Saturday. It was a great group, everyone nicely masked. I was happy to see. And we wandered into neighborhoods I've never been through before. And I have to tell you, I will never again look at a eucalyptus tree the way I've looked at that big.
Wasn't it impressive?
Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
Yes, historical and impressive.
Beautiful. So it is, every one of these tours I'm sure is memorable, and I'm sure the community loves you. You're running for city council.
I am.
So exciting.
I want to run for city council because I think we can make the whole town as beautiful. And it's not really that difficult. Every time someone goes to sell a house, they say, what's the curb appeal? I want to make Laguna Beach's curb appeal so stellar that you cannot miss it.
Thank you again, Ruben, for taking time to show us your wonderful garden. And let's see what Bill is up to now.
In a few minutes here on Beyond the Gates, I'll be talking to Bill Hoffman, overlooking Crescent Bay Beach and the Crescent Bay Park. Meanwhile, you're looking for the Lost Pier.
We found it at last, the Lost Pier Cafe, located on Aliso Beach in the southern part of Laguna Beach. We know of all the many restaurants that are in Laguna Beach, and we had looked for a secret spot that not many people know about, and I think we found it in the Lost Pier. I'm sitting here with Rachel Woods at the Lost Pier Cafe. Rachel is the manager of the Lost Pier Cafe, and she's going to tell us a little bit about this real find of a restaurant. So, Rachel, I have several questions for you. First of all, where are we really? I still feel like I'm a little lost, but
it's kind of a good feeling to have when you're in Southern California, to be a little lost.
It is.
We are a little gem. We're in South Laguna Beach on Aliso County Beach. So we're about 5 minutes north of Dana Point, or maybe 10 minutes south of downtown Laguna Beach.
Okay, that's a good description, and I noticed the Aliso Creek actually it ends here.
Yes.
Right on the beach. Aliso Creek runs through where we live in Laguna Woods. So
oh, no kidding.
Means a lot to us.
Maybe you could just take a floaty down and come visit us.
I know. Rachel, could you tell me a little bit about the history? I mean, this is such a find. Was there really a pier here at one time?
Yes, there was. So in 1971, they built a pier, and it was a very interesting pier because it's unlike the Huntington Beach one, unlike the San Clemente one, because it was very long, and at the very end of it, it had a diamond shape, and the middle of the pier was open. So it was very unique, and it's very beautiful, and the locals fell in love with this pier. But due to, the waves at this beach, as you can tell, are huge.
They're amazing.
Yes, very, very large, and through the years, El Nino in the late 90s started decimating the pier. And with that, I think it's 1999 or going into 2000, the county decided they had to take it down, just for the safety.
All right, got it. So what happened then?
So it's always been a beach. There was this snack shack built, and in 2000, we actually just had our 2-year anniversary, but in 2018, in August, a gentleman, Mark Christie, and his wife, Letitia, who are the main owners of the ranch in Laguna Beach, they were able to get the lease on this land, and they opened Lost Pier Cafe. And they opted to, it was a joint effort, but they opted to name it Lost Pier Cafe to sort of honor what was here before.
Oh, that's a wonderful story.
Yes.
That is. So your relationship with the ranch is they manage the Lost Pier Cafe. Mm-hmm. And they provide now the ranch. Well, let's talk a little bit about the ranch for a minute.
Yes.
For people who don't know what the ranch is, maybe you can explain that. It's right across the street from us here on the other side of PCH.
Exactly. It's the Ranch Laguna Beach. It's a privately owned luxury boutique luxury hotel. It has a golf course, a 9-hole golf course, which is named Ben's Browns. The property that the ranch itself is built on it's a legend in Laguna Beach. Like, it's the first homestead that Laguna Beach ever had hundreds of years ago. I think it's in the 1800s.
Interesting.
First homestead ever that happened in Laguna Beach was up in Laguna, or Aliso Canyon, where the ranch is now.
Well, now that we know a little bit about the history, tell us about the food, because the food here at the Lost Pier Cafe is exceptional.
Thank you.
And it's affiliated with the ranch.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about the executive chef and where the meals come from.
So our food here, Like you said, it's very special. We're an ocean-friendly restaurant, and with that, all our food is made from scratch, and all our fish is resourced. Majority of it's resourced locally, and it's fish that's very sustainable to the environment. Our executive chef at Lost Pier Cafe is Kyle St. John, and he's also the executive chef of the ranch, Laguna Beach. So he controls both. Control's a bad word. He oversees all the recipes for Lost Pier Cafe, all the recipes for Harvest Restaurant, which is an amazing restaurant if you ever have the chance to go. All the recipes for Ben's Pantry and for banquets.
Oh my gosh. So this is the place to be, and it looks like it's been quite a success. It's been open for 2 years.
Yes.
Successful.
So far.
More people are hearing about it, knowing about it.
Yes.
Is it ever just packed? Is it days where you have the whole place is full?
I would say from June to just about now, mid-September, it's very, very challenging to find parking.
Okay.
But then when you go into the shoulder season, it's still very busy, but at least parking's much more reasonable.
All right.
Say from like end of September through May.
Okay, well, could you tell me a little bit about what kind of foods you have here? I'm assuming you don't have hot dogs and snow cones or anything like that.
Oddly enough, we actually do have hot dogs.
Oh, really?
But they're very high quality hot dogs and very reasonably priced. They're Wagyu hot dogs. And we also have a bacon wrapped loaded hot dog, which is amazing. But what we're really well known for being on the ocean is our seafood.
I see, the fish and chips and...
Yes, fish and chips, which we use currently we're using local Catalina rockfish, which is a white fish. And we use just one large piece that we put in a beer batter. We fry it for about 6 minutes, and we serve it on a bed of chips or French fries.
Okay.
And comes with a house-made tartar sauce, which you don't find often.
No.
But it's one of our most popular dishes.
Now you have fish tacos here as well.
Yes.
Tacos.
Yes.
Wow, what a treat.
And then a lobster roll. Lobster roll is probably the second or third most popular item that we have on the menu, but it's lobster actually from Maine, and it's made in a Boston style. So it's not overly dressed with, say, mayonnaise or anything. It's lightly dressed with a house-made aioli that we make. And it's served on a brioche bun, which is really phenomenal.
Sounds wonderful.
Yes.
Now, the beach here is open to everyone. I'm assuming people who stay at the ranch come and use this beach. They stay there, and it's open to the public.
Yes,
Anyone
exactly.
who wants to be here. It's an Orange County park.
Yes.
Right.
And the parking, if you do drive your personal vehicle here, I want to say it's $1 per hour, but there's 4 pay machines throughout the parking lot. And it accepts cash or card. But it's only $1 an hour.
Oh, that's not bad at all. Rachel, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about this real gem on the beach.
Thank you so much for being here.
It's been really a treat. And Bill, what are you up to?
We're here with Bill Hoffman, and what is your company?
My company is Hoffy Tours. I've lived in Laguna Beach for 40 years, and I formed a tour company 7 years ago.
Wow. So what is this island then? You must know what it is.
Yes, in fact, as a high school student, I jumped off it. We are at beautiful Crescent Bay Point Park, and that is on the left Seal Rock and on the right Bird Rock. And it's important for the seals and the sea lions because it's a rookery. It's where they come out and rest. They need to come out and rest. And you can see on the left hand, it's hard to see it, but there are 3 sea lions that are resting on the rock there. There's also cormorants and pelicans. And this whole area is a marine protected zone.
Okay, so somebody, I see kayakers up here, they can't just come in and disturb the life and bring a sea lion back home.
You can't take home a shell, a starfish, you cannot fish. It's part of the Marine Life Protection Act. It was passed to protect the California coast. Now, not all areas of the coast are protected, but this whole area is. So you can come out and look, you can snorkel, you can scuba dive, but you may not take anything.
And you can't touch.
Yeah.
How have you gotten to know all about this?
Well, when I was in high school, I grew up in South Pasadena, and this beautiful beach had great waves for body surfing. We called it Killer Crescent. So we would come down here, and stupidly, we would climb the rock on the right, which is called Bird Rock. It's quite dangerous to climb, but we did it anyway. And when the waves were right, we would jump over, missing the rocks. And some of the stupid things you do when you're 17.
I was to say, would you do that today?
Not in any way, but I still snorkel and body surf. Would you snorkel?
Snorkel, yeah, but I don't know if I would go that far out. Not that, because I'm in, when we used to vacation here, I helped the policeman pull a drowned skin diver out of the next cove. That's Shaw's Cove, right?
Shaw's Cove is the next one.
Yeah, that was, I wouldn't do it without someone experienced with me.
Yeah, good point.
Never do that.
And because of this coastline, Laguna was never part of a Mexican or Spanish rancho. Therefore, they couldn't really raise cattle here. So this area was outside of Mexico's ownership. So American settlers and artists could come in and look at how beautiful it is. And they started setting up their studios and they started doing the famous plein air art. Now, I think this is the most beautiful perspective in all of Orange County. If you look down the coast, you can see at the very end, that's the Dana Point Headlands. That's the area where Richard Henry Dana and the sailors from the big ship, the Pilgrim, threw the cowhides over the cliff to the boat. And those cowhides were very important because they were made into belts and hats and boots in New England. And that's the Dana Point Headlands, and that's been protected. So I don't know of a more beautiful view. All the area beyond those homes is preserved forever. So that's the green belt. And then the state of California and the county has preserved this as a marine protected area. This is the blue belt. So Laguna Beach is surrounded by a blue belt and a green belt, which is pretty cool. And animals like this, like the California gray whale, can cruise up and down the coast undisturbed.
Well, I've got you here. You've got a tour company, and I'm always interested in history of areas. How many coves are in Laguna Beach?
Laguna Beach has 14 coves. And they're absolutely beautiful, because if you look at the coastline, these are our Mediterranean climate. These are pretty big hills that come down, and there's lots of rocks. And when you look down the rocks, I think they tend to clean the water. So if the conditions are right, this could almost be like Hawaii. And except in the winter, we don't have any rivers that come in here, so the water stays really, really clean, which is one of the reasons I felt Laguna was like a little bit of Hawaii. And once again, this coastline, the way it is, preserved Laguna. Because the Mexican and Spanish land grants, they couldn't really raise cattle here. So this was never part of a Mexican or Spanish rancho. A rancho, I should say. And therefore, artists and settlers could come in and they could build small homes, and this became an artist colony.
Now, I heard in 1996 there was a devastating fire. Where'd that come from?
That was horrible. That was absolutely horrible. So the fire was during a Santa Ana wind condition, and arson lit the fire. And the fire came from inland, and it ravaged Laguna, destroyed over 300 homes. The fire came into downtown. See those hills over there?
Yeah.
Part of those hills were taken, and then the other part of the fire went north, and it destroyed part of Emerald Bay. Fortunately, there was no loss of lives. But the solution Laguna has to the wildfires, they hired a Peruvian goat herder. And they have 500 goats.
Seen that.
And the goats eat all the chaparral and all the bushes, so the fire has less fuel.
I've seen them up on the hill. Now, where do you live? Do you overlook all this?
So I live in top of the world, which is those distant hills.
Up on the park there.
Yeah, 1,000 feet high.
Bill, thank you very much for your expertise, number one, and thank you for joining us this morning. And I really hope people come down and see this beautiful park.
Yeah,
because again, it's less than 10 miles from the village. It's an easy ride, and it's really worth coming to. So please come and enjoy, and thank you very much for joining us on this edition of Beyond the Gate.
We're all aware of the art colony that existed in Laguna Beach in the early 1900s, the turn of the century, and how it continues to be a mecca for artists from around the world. We are very lucky to have with us today Reem Khalil, who is a mixed media artist who works a lot in textiles and is here to tell us about her craft and her art. So, Reem, tell me a little bit about you. How did you end up finding yourself in a spot like this with all the things that you have accomplished? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, you know when you're a little girl and you always dream about what you want to be when you grow up?
Oh.
I wanted to be on stage.
Really?
So the festivals and the shows and my exhibits are my stage. And I get to show myself through my art. And I got to fulfill my dream. I decided as a child that I loved the creative aspect. I loved different patterns and textures. And over the years, it evolved into textiles. I started in ceramics and thought I would be a sculptor. And instead, I became a dressmaker because draping, and I got to sculpt different body types through fibers and fabrics, and that was amazing.
Now, where did you do all of this? You were in school then, in design school? Or?
Yes. So my mother was a seamstress, so I learned most of my discipline through my mother, watching her work so hard. She was a tapestry artist. She did seamstress work. And I studied in the 8th grade home ec. Once upon a time, they had that in our schools.
I remember that.
And I got to learn how to sew and design, and that was wonderful. And when I went to college, I started my education overseas at the University of Amman, and then I came back down in Jordan. I came back to the United States and fulfilled my trade through more prestigious schools such as Otis, and I took a wonderful course actually through a junior college that taught me wonderful draping techniques. But the textile and plant dyes is really what I fell in love with. And I met a fantastic professor at Otis up in Los Angeles, and she introduced such a wonderful primitive technique, and I fell in love, and I basically use primitive skills in creating my own plant dyes, and I turn it into more contemporary designs such as what I'm wearing, and also into fine art.
That's so beautiful.
This is mixed media.
Wearable art and fine art. And now tell me about your dyes. Where do you get the plants? Do you grow the plants?
So most of my plants I forage myself locally. I grow a lot of them. Just behind me is a whole little field of coreopsis. I teach a lot of the classes as well, and I teach how to forage so you can identify that there's a lot of color just in your own backyard.
Now, when you say forage, when you teach people how to forage, meaning...
Identify the plant.
Oh, okay.
And see that it has tannins that will transfer into color, and teach the methods on how to extract the color from the plant itself.
Ooh, it sounds very complicated.
It could be, but I am not on the scientific level. I'm more of an alchemist. So I teach it in the way that anybody can do it. It truly is a simple art form. And if it's taught in a way that it takes all the complications out and all the technical aspects, and you do exactly what Mother Earth was intending her plants to do, you can go far.
It sounds amazing. Well, there are. It sounds like so many chemical process.
No chemicals.
Not yours, by any means, but other artists do use the chemical.
Yes.
And but yours is the real deal.
Yes.
But I can't imagine how. And now the coreopsis, for example, if you wanted, what would be the steps in picking it and?
So each plant has a different property and different values. Sometimes it's in the flower, sometimes it's in the stems, sometimes it's in the leaves, and sometimes it's in the roots. So each plant has a different value to it.
I see what you're saying.
For example, something that is gone wild in our region is the eucalyptus trees, and you can create an entire rainbow off the eucalyptus. I can get beautiful reds and beautiful oranges and greens and browns. Different plants and different flowers tend to offer different colors based off of what's in the soil. In the end, it always boils down to the soil and the foundation. And that's what I love about being from Laguna Beach, is we were founded as an agricultural town, so the soil is very rich in minerals. And so artists can really thrive in their colors. Plein air painters thrive from painting different colors and scenes because the plants offer such an array of hues and values, and that's based off of the minerals that are in our soils.
I had no idea.
So it affects my dyes just as well.
So no soil amending here. What you've got is gold.
I do amend the soil because we have edibles as well. So
okay.
I have a sustainable home, a permaculture home, where I basically can survive off my property from my art to my food.
This is amazing.
I'm grateful, very grateful.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So now, on top of doing all of this, growing these, the plants and doing classes, I mean, you have classes that you teach through the local senior center.
Mm-hmm. So I teach through the senior center. I teach through a couple different organizations, and I also teach independently here at my studio. And I offer an array of classes here in my studio, and a lot of our work is done outside in the garden, which is lovely because it's inspirational.
Absolutely.
I have an indoor studio as well, but I really prefer working in nature.
Of course.
So I offer plant dyes. I teach how to make colors out of your garden clippings, things that you're throwing away. The loquat leaves, I can create this beautiful orange peach color from just the leaves themselves. Very different garden clippings that people usually think it's a waste. Well, it's gold to an artist.
Who knew?
Yes, and you can create the dyes not just for an actual dye itself, but thickening agents to make it a strong enough pigment to paint direct on as well.
Oh.
So again, it's how the indigenous people created their colors, and I've just learned the native ways, and from all regions and all cultures had offered and techniques and such, and I just apply it to a contemporary style.
I see. And now you have a fabulous website. I love the name of your business.
Thank you. Refined Bohemian.
Refined Bohemian. Oh, it's wonderful. And you have your website is beautiful. It talks about your story and what you are passionate about, and your teaching and how to sign up for a class. It's all on the website.
Yes.
refinedbohemian.com.
Yes. refinedbohemian.com.
All right.
Yes.
So, Reem, I just want to thank you so much for telling us about your art,
pleasure.
your craft, and we will make sure that people in Laguna Woods know about what you are doing.
Thank you.
And that you love teaching classes. So, thank you again.
Thank you.